My youngest called on a Tuesday. She didn't start with, "How are you?" Didn't start with, "Mama." She started with, "We've been talking." I knew who "we" was. I knew what talking meant. I'm Annie Mae Carter, 81 years old, and I need to tell you what happened after that phone call, because what came next almost finished something in me that I didn't know was still alive. It had been a slow slide. That's the honest way to say it. Not a fall, not a diagnosis, not one clear moment where everything changed. Just Tuesday after Tuesday where things got a little heavier, where the grocery bag stayed in the car an extra hour because I needed to rest first. Where I'd find myself standing at the stove, forgetting what I'd turned the burner on for. Where the stairs started having opinions about whether I should use them. I live in this house alone, have for years since Earl passed. The neighborhood changed around me. Most of the folks I knew either moved away or went on ahead. The house is older than it used to be, same as me. Some mornings I walk through these rooms and it feels like we're just keeping each other company, me and these walls. For a long time that was enough. Then one November morning I slipped getting out of the tub, caught myself on the edge of the sink. Just barely. Stood there dripping, heart hammering, and I thought, what if I hadn't caught the sink? What if that was a Thursday and nobody was coming until Sunday? I didn't tell Angela. I didn't tell anyone. But I started thinking. And Angela somehow was thinking too. She'd noticed things on her visits. A dish I'd forgotten to rinse. A light I'd left on all night. Small things that added up in her mind to something she needed to talk about with the others. So when she called that Tuesday and said, "We've been talking," I already knew what was underneath it. "Come stay with us, Mama." I want to tell you I resisted. I want to say I knew better. But the truth is I was tired. And tired people sometimes accept things just because someone else is offering to carry the weight for a while. So I packed 2 bags, locked this house up, and went to stay with Angela. The first week was warm. There's no other word for it. Her youngest, Malik, dragged me into every room to show me things. A drawing he'd made, his fish tank, a video game he couldn't get me to understand no matter how slowly he explained it. Angela cooked things I hadn't had in years. Her husband, Deshaun, was kind in that easy, undemanding way that good men sometimes are. I slept well, ate well, felt for a few days like maybe this wasn't a bad thing. Then the second week came. Angela works, Deshaun works, Malik is in school. By 9 in the morning, I was sitting in a house that wasn't mine, in a chair that wasn't mine, watching a television set to a channel nobody had asked me if I liked. The loneliness that came over me then was a particular kind. Not the lonely of being by yourself. I know that lonely, and I've made my peace with it. This was the lonely of being surrounded and still being alone. Of being the extra, the accommodated, the one everyone arranged themselves around without ever quite asking what I needed. Small things started. Angela, with love, moved my things, organized my medications into a little plastic tray with days of the week on it, set an alarm on my phone so I'd remember to take them. I had been taking my own medications for 40 years without a reminder. I didn't say anything. Malik asked once, in the way children do, innocent and crushing, "Grandma, how long are you staying?" Angela shushed him. I told him I didn't know. He nodded and went back to his game, and I sat there trying to remember the last time I'd been asked what I wanted. One evening, I overheard Angela on the phone with Marcus. The words came through the wall, soft and tired. "She's fine. She's just... it's a lot. You know?" I didn't realize how much she didn't finish the sentence. I lay in the dark of her guest room and I thought, I have become a problem to be managed by people who love me. That's the worst kind of burden there is. The kind that can't be put down without someone feeling guilty. After 6 weeks, I told her I was going home. She cried, said she didn't want me to get hurt. Said she'd worry every day. I told her she'd been worrying with me in the house too, and at least at home only one of us had to be uncomfortable. Back in my own house, I could breathe again. But the problem was still the problem. I couldn't pretend the tub incident hadn't happened. Couldn't pretend I wasn't slowing. So I did what felt like the sensible next thing. I called one of those home care agencies. A woman who could come a few times a week. Someone to help with the heavy cleaning, with errands, with whatever I couldn't manage. The first one they sent was named Brenda. Brenda was efficient the way a machine is efficient. She'd come through the door, barely say good morning, and start moving through the house like she was working against a clock. Things got clean, floors got mopped. But she rearranged my kitchen on the third visit without asking, moved my cast iron skillet, put my dish towels in a different drawer, and when I mentioned it, she said, "I just thought it made more sense this way." I was paying her to be here, in my house, and somehow I'd still lost the final say. She left after 2 months. Family situation. They sent someone new. I went through 4 women in 7 months, each one with her own system, her own habits, her own quiet way of making me feel like a guest in my own kitchen. Some were kind. Some were just doing a job. All of them required me to explain, every single time, where the tea bags were, how I liked the windows cracked in the afternoon, why I kept Earl's chair exactly where it was and didn't want it moved for vacuuming. One of them, I still think about her sometimes. She was maybe 25, and she used to talk on her phone the whole time she was here. Never anything unkind, just absent, like I wasn't quite real to her. And the money. Lord, this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but I am not. I did the math one afternoon sitting right here at this table, and I almost laughed. What I was spending every month would have kept Earl's whole side of the family fed for a year back when we were coming up. Savings I'd spent decades protecting, going out the door for the privilege of feeling invisible in my own home. I canceled the service. That left one option, or so it seemed. Angela had found a facility 20 minutes away. Good reputation, she said. Clean, medical staff on site. A room of my own. Just try it for a month, Mama. Just see. I went. The room was the size of a large closet with a window. I don't say that bitterly. It was a real window, and the light was decent. But everything about that place communicated the same thing. Quiet and constant. You are no longer in charge of your own life. Meals at specific times. Lights in the hallways that dimmed at 9. Activities scheduled on a board in the common room. Tuesday, chair yoga. Thursday, bingo. As though my days should be organized around what was easiest for the staff to supervise. I've been deciding when to sleep since I was 18 years old. The other residents were kind people, worn in the way people get worn when they've handed over all the decisions. A few of them had clearly given up on the idea of going home. One woman, Hattie, told me on my 3rd day that once you understand this is where you are, it gets easier. She said it like she was offering comfort. It scared me more than the tub had. I walked to the front door one evening. There was a courtyard, and the air smelled like the beginning of something changing, that October smell. And a young staff member stepped in front of me, gentle, apologetic. Outdoor access closes at 7, Mrs. Carter. Liability. I stood there and looked at that door, and I thought, Earl used to say that the day you stop making your own mistakes is the day you stop being a person. I hadn't understood what he meant until right then. I called Angela the next morning. "I'm coming home," she argued. I didn't argue back, just told her that I'd rather fall in my own house than disappear in someone else's. She came to get me, drove me home in silence, which was its own kind of love. I didn't have a plan. For a few days I just sat at this window I've been sitting at for 30 years, watching the street. A man walking his dog. A teenager who cut across the lawn every afternoon. Same path, like he didn't even notice he was doing it. Maple trees doing what maple trees do in October, just letting things go. I thought about what I actually needed, not what made other people feel better about my situation. What Annie Mae Carter, actually needed. I needed to feel like I still had something to give. That's what none of the options had understood. They'd all been designed to give me things. Care, safety, assistance. Nobody had thought to wonder if maybe what I needed most was to still be useful to someone. And a Thursday afternoon, I was walking back from the corner store, the small one, 3 blocks down, not the big one, that's too far now. and I passed by Denise's house. Denise lives a few doors down. Single mother, works long shifts at the hospital. Her daughter Kayla is 10, quiet in the way perceptive children are quiet. I'd known them a couple of years at that point. The kind of neighboring where you wave, you notice, you don't pry. Denise was standing on her porch, phone to her ear, and even from down the sidewalk, I could see it in her shoulders. That particular tired that's different from sleepy. The tired that comes from carrying too much for too long without a hand. She hung up and just stood there, and I walked over. I don't know entirely what made me do it. I hadn't planned anything. Denise, she looked up. That little girl of yours, does she need someone to walk home with from school? I go past there most days anyway. She looked at me the way people look at you. When they think you might be doing them a favor, they'll have to find a way to repay. Miss Annie, I couldn't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. What time does she get out? 3:15. Second door on the left side of the building. Kayla would know me. She'd seen me enough times. All right then, I said. I'll be there tomorrow. I was there. Kayla came out of those double doors with her backpack and spotted me and didn't look surprised, just sort of settled, the way kids do when they trust something without quite knowing why. She walked up beside me and we headed home, and she talked the whole way about a science project and whether it was fair that her teacher gave partial credit and what she thought the word sufficient meant. I didn't say much. Mostly, I just listened. When Denise got home that evening, she came over, stood in my doorway holding a container of food, black-eyed peas and cornbread, still warm. You don't have to feed me, I told her. I know I don't have to, she said. It became a thing between us. I walked Kayla home 3 or 4 days a week. Some evenings Denise would bring something by. Kayla started stopping in sometimes on her own if she had homework she was stuck on. Not because I'm a teacher, just because she figured out that sometimes thinking out loud in front of a person who's quiet helps. Denise's husband, Terrence, when he's in town, fixed a door hinge that had been grinding for a year. Didn't make a project of it, just asked if I had a screwdriver and took care of it in 10 minutes. Denise showed me how to set up a grocery delivery for the heavy things I didn't want to haul anymore. Small exchanges, real ones. But what changed in me wasn't the practical help. It was the morning I was walking Kayla to school. She'd started asking me to do that some days, not just home, but there and back. And she slipped her hand into mine, crossing Elm Street. Just for the crosswalk, just for a moment. She didn't even seem to think about it. I did, though. I thought about it for the rest of the day. That's what I'd been missing. Not care, not assistance, not someone to manage my medications or clean my floors. Being necessary to someone who didn't need me to be anything other than what I was. I'm 81. I can't move fast. My hands shake sometimes. I forget the word I want and have to work my way around to it. None of that matters to Kayla. She doesn't walk beside me in spite of what I can't do anymore. She walks beside me because of what I am. Someone steady, someone present, someone who will listen to her talk about the word sufficient without needing her to perform anything. Angela still worries. She calls more than she used to, which I understand. I'm careful now in ways I wasn't before the tub. I have a little rubber mat. I don't rush. I keep my phone in my cardigan pocket instead of leaving it on the counter. But I still decide when to go to sleep. I think about my mother sometimes. Ruth Carter didn't have options, not really. Her kind of help was family or nothing, and family meant sacrifice, and sacrifice meant silence. She would have looked at any one of those arrangements. The daughter's guest room, the hired women, the facility, and she would have accepted whichever one caused the least trouble for everybody else. I spent a lot of my life being like her that way. I'm glad I lasted long enough to try something different. Some mornings I sit here and the light comes through these old windows at an angle that makes the dust look like something beautiful. 60 years of ordinary days, settling and catching the light. Mornings with Earl drinking coffee and not saying much, which was its own language. 6 children coming and going through this house, leaving their marks in the walls. 11 grandchildren who carry pieces of me they don't even know about yet. A 10-year-old girl who holds my hand at crosswalks. That's not a small thing. I know that now. It took me 81 years and 3 failed attempts to understand it, but I know it now. You don't always need to be taken care of. Sometimes you just need to still matter to someone who's walking in the same direction. Thank you for sitting here with me today. I know I went on. That's something that happens when you get older. The words want to come out in their own time, at their own pace, and rushing them doesn't help anyone. If you want to come sit with me again sometime, I'll be here. New memories find me every week, and I'm not done talking about them. Take care of yourself, whatever that means to you.